Hello and welcome to Karate Time. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Karate Time. Today's topic is going to be on kata, but we're going to be discussing quantity in kata, quantity, quality, maybe a mixture of both. Just before we start though, I want to say thank you to the Lantuit and the Cowbridge Kyokushinkai clubs, the Jitsukai, for getting involved with our virtual brawl that we did. And it's been the most successful video we've had. I had to upload it twice because I missed a couple of people. Sorry for you. Sorry to you, I should say. But I re-uploaded it with the missing people. And between the two videos, I think there's about 350, nearly 400 views on it. So fantastic. Really, really pleased. Thoroughly enjoyed doing it. And I must admit, I do quite enjoy the end result. So thank you very, very much. Anyway, back to the topic on hand. So I've been looking at kata a little bit more this week. It's as many of you know, it's a passion of mine, and I like to look at kata of different styles and the history of kata itself. And I am planning in the future to do a longer discussion on the concept of form-based training. It's an area that I enjoy researching, and I've got a publication coming out soon, which is actually a chapter within another book looking at kata and form learning. But it's not something that is purely, it's not purely linked to karate or to Japan. The idea of form-based training is much bigger than that. It goes back thousands and thousands of years in almost every culture that's existed in some sort of martial capacity. Not just martial as well, but that's the most common bit. But what I want to look at today is sticking to the Japanese theme, and I'm mainly going to be posing a series of questions for you, and I'd like to get some feedback. And that is how many katas, how many kata is a good number for a style to do, a karate style to do? And the reason I mention this is that if you look at the main, I've got my my tablet here because I've just wrote some research down, and if you look at the different kata or the quantities of kata that exist in different styles, it's a massive range. The smallest style, the smallest number in a style is in Ichiru, Uchiru. I can never pronounce that one. Uchiru, which has total of 8 kata, and that's it. And then if you look at Shitaru, they have 94 kata, and everyone else has something in between. My style, Shotokan, officially has 26 kata. I believe there is an unofficial 27th, depending on the style you go, depending on the group you're with. But officially it's 26. And it's a really difficult one because the conversation I've had many times is that if you, with 26 kata for us, if you really want to go into detail on them and learn to understand the fundamentals and look into bunkai and applications and really disassemble a kata, if you were to do 2 katas a year, that's 13 years of your life already gone. And bear in mind, we have to we have to think about all the training that comes up just to learn the kata. Once you can do all 26 kata and then you want to really know them, that's when your 13 years of 2 katas a year, if you're really going into detail on them, is going to hit. And that's a long period of time. And the problem is, of course, by the time you've gone through several of them, a few years have gone by, and you should probably be revisiting the ones you've already done. And we said 26 katas probably enough for a lifetime. So how on earth does Shitaru get on with 94 kata? I'd love to know if there's any Shitaru practitioners watching. I'd love to know your thoughts on having such a high number of kata. we also have, I'm looking at some of the others as well, and we've got some styles with 60, 46, including weapon kata. Um, Kyokushin's very similar to us. They have 23, and they have what's called 8 ura kata as well sometimes. And it's interesting, but when you look at most styles, they tend to hover around the 15 to 30 mark, 15 to 25 mark. And it's quite a hard one to get your head around, because if you're thinking about how much time you dedicate to a kata, you have to think about, well, why are we doing them in the first place? So I'm just going to pick on the Shita-Ryu one for a minute, because if you've got 94 kata, the question I would have to ask is, if you've got 94, at what point do you sacrifice quality for the quantity? But then likewise, if you look at the styles with 8 kata, at what point do you spend so long on 8 kata that you start to restrict your development? Funakoshi talked about, because he had two teachers when he was studying, and what happened with his was he was taught by one master who essentially said, right, you're going to practice this one kata, you're going to do it for months and months and months and months and months, and then once that's done, you're going to then practice it for months and months and months and months, and you're just going to keep doing this. And he advocated a very, very small number of kata with high attention to detail. I believe his other instructor then worked on the principle of more. We're gonna do lots and lots and lots of different forms, so you have a wide variety. And when Funakoshi went into talking about kata for his style of Shotokan, when he started to turn it into something of his, he advocated what he referred to as the middle way. Essentially, what he was trying to do was trying to find what he felt was the right balance of quantity and quality. And the end result was we ended up with 26 kata. Not all just, here we go, here's 26. I think it started at about 18, and then a few kata started to get introduced afterwards. But that's where it seems to have settled. And it's a bit of a dilemma, really, because I would say, I've been training for, how long have I been training now? 23 years, 23, 24 years, and it's I can do all 26 kata. I wouldn't say I know all 26 kata. There's I can get through all of them. I'd probably say I know about, I don't know, maybe 17, 18 of them in good detail, but the others are ones that I haven't dedicated the same amount of time as others for developing understanding on them in the way that I have with other kata. And to me, that's another sort of 6-7 years worth of work if I concentrate on those from now, really. Yeah, so I'd love to know. I want to know what people's thoughts are. Just a couple of ideas that I'm going to throw towards you, just to help inform your, not inform, but maybe just give you some pause for thought, actually, when it comes to your answer, is to think about what the kata are actually there for in the first place. This is a small bit of the bigger discussion I want to do in the future, but it's this idea that kata was actually invented essentially as repetitive drills, repetitive practice to hone battlefield skills. There's the purpose being that you become reactive to a situation instinctively based on a high degree of skill and repetition. And one of the situations is that most of the skills that we do in kata are supposed to be there for life-saving situations. And I said, I don't just mean in modern day, we're talking self-defense situations. The threat of everyday society is considerably lower than it was, a few hundred years ago, and back, of course. Sort of if you think about, sort of the classic 14th century, 1400s Japan, actually, that samurai period where they were rising up. There were wars, there were civil wars, there were small conflicts, there were border disputes going on, and the general threat level of everyday life was considerably higher than we experience now. And that's where these practice forms came in. And one of the things that we have to think about now is that now that that threat level has diminished for most societies, not all, of course, but for most societies, that threat level is lower. And that's where kata purpose is not necessarily as important to many, because the general the lived moment is doesn't really exist in the way it used to when kata was there for that purpose. And so, do we need 94 kata? Do we need 8 kata? Do we need something in between? Do we not need them at all? Do we need them only for preservation of our traditions, or for the use of competitions, or for the use of gradings? It throws an interesting question on there. Like I said, I want to make this a topic for a longer discussion once I've finished my research. Anyway, I don't want to ramble. I feel like I'm starting to ramble now. Yeah, I want to know what you think. 8 kata, 94 kata, anything in between? How are you going to find the right balance for this? And yeah, pop your answers on a postcard for those old enough to know what a postcard is. Everyone else, stick them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Enjoy your cup of tea, and yeah, take care, everyone.